threatening to thaw and spill into the open, and nowhere was it more palpable than within the sprawling, high-ceilinged confines of the Quartermain mansion. The grand house, usually a bastion of controlled chaos and acerbic wit, was silent, its opulence feeling more like a gilded cage for the man standing at the study window. Michael Corinthos stared out at the manicured gardens, their autumn glory fading into the stark, skeletal outlines of winter. In his hand, a single piece of paper felt as heavy as a tombstone. The DNA test results. The words probability of paternity 0.00% were seared into his vision, a clinical, unassailable verdict on his life. The child he had believed was his son, the baby he had held and named and sworn to protect, was not his. The betrayal was a physical ache, a cold fire in his chest that had been burning since the moment the truth had begun to unravel. The door to the study creaked open, and he didn't need to turn to know it was her. The air shifted, charged with a painful, familiar electricity. "Michael?" Willow's voice was soft, tentative, laced with a fear she could no longer hide. He finally turned, his face a mask of controlled anguish. He held up the paper. "It's official, Willow." Conclusively, definitively official. Willow Tate Corinthos wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to hold her shattered world together. "Michael, please. We need to talk about this. We can't just let this destroy us." "Destroy us?" Michael's voice was low, dangerously calm. "What is us, Willow? What's left? It was built on a lie. Every moment since you found out you were pregnant, every conversation we had about his future, every time I looked at him and saw my son, it was a lie you were letting me live. I was going to tell you," she pleaded, tears starting to stream down her pale cheeks. "I was trying to find the right time, to figure out how." "The right time?" he interrupted, a harsh laugh escaping his lips. "When would that have been, Willow? On his first birthday? At his high school graduation? Or were you just going to wait and hope I never found out?" "I was scared. I am scared," she cried. "I didn't know how you would react. I didn't know what this would do to our family, to Wiley, to Amelia." "Don't," he bit out, his composure cracking. "Don't you dare use our children as a shield. This is about you and the choices you made. You chose to keep this from me. You chose to let me bond with a child that wasn't mine, all while you knew the truth." He took a step closer, his eyes blazing with a hurt so profound it seemed to suck the oxygen from the room. "Who is the father, Willow? Is it Drew? Is it someone else? I have a right to know." Willow shook her head, a fresh wave of sobs racking her body. She couldn't form the words. The secret was a cancer, and speaking it aloud felt like it would finally kill everything they had. "Who is he?" Michael repeated, each word a hammer blow. Before she could answer, the sound of raised voices echoed from the foyer, shattering the intense bubble of their confrontation. The heavy study door swung open, and Carly Corinthos stood there, her face a thundercloud of maternal fury. She was followed closely by Drew Kane, his expression one of grim determination. "Michael," Carly said, her gaze darting from her son's tortured face to Willow's tear-streaked one. "We need to talk. Now." "This isn't a good time, Mom," Michael said, his voice tight. "It's the only time," Drew interjected, stepping forward. "The situation with Pikeman is escalating. They're not backing down, and they've made it clear they're coming for the entire family. Your family, Michael. We need a unified front." Michael looked from Drew to Willow, a terrible, cynical understanding dawning in his eyes. "A unified front," he repeated softly. "That's rich. It seems like unity is in short supply in this family." He turned his gaze fully on Drew. "Tell me, Drew. In the spirit of unity and honesty, is there anything else you're keeping from me? Any other little secrets that might blow up my life?" Drew faltered, sensing the shift in the room but misinterpreting its source. "Michael, this is about Pikeman. This is about business." "This," Michael said, gesturing between himself and Willow, "is anything but business. While the storm raged at the Quartermain mansion, another kind of tempest was brewing at the Metro Court Hotel. Ava Jerome, resplendent in a sheath of emerald silk, stood behind the bar, personally pouring 2 glasses of exceptionally expensive bourbon. She slid one across the polished mahogany to Nina Reeves, who looked as though she hadn't slept in a week. "You look like hell, darling," Ava said, not unkindly. "And not the fashionable, I partied all night in Monte Carlo kind of hell. The my life is collapsing kind." Nina managed a weak, brittle smile. "You have a gift for understatement, Ava." She took a long sip of the bourbon, the amber liquid doing little to warm the ice in her veins. "Carly is on the warpath. She knows, Ava. She knows I was the one who tipped off the SEC about Drew." Ava's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "Are you sure?" "How?" "I don't know how, but I'm certain," Nina whispered, her eyes darting around the nearly empty lounge. "The way she looked at me at the hospital the other day, it was pure venom. She's biding her time. She's going to destroy me." "Well, you did try to destroy her first, let's not forget," Ava reminded her, taking a sip. "And Drew, by extension. A move, I might add, I told you was monumentally foolish. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was hurt, I was angry. Sonny was back from the dead and he chose her, again. It felt like the only power I had left." Nina's shoulders slumped. "Now, I have no power. I have nothing. When Sonny finds out." "When Sonny finds out," Ava finished for her, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur, "he will be livid. But more than that, he'll feel betrayed. You manipulated him, you used his trust, and you attacked his family. Even if that family is Carly, it's a line you don't cross. Not with Sonny." Nina put her head in her hands. "What am I going to do?" "Your options are limited," Ava stated bluntly. "You can run, which is undignified and unlikely to work. You can preemptively confess to Sonny, throw yourself on his non-existent mercy, and hope the fallout only incinerates your relationship and not your entire life. Or," she paused, her eyes glinting, "you can dig in. You can prepare for war. Carly has secrets, too. Everyone in this godforsaken town does." "I can't fight Carly Corinthos," Nina moaned. "She has an army. She has Jason, even in absentia. She has Drew, she has Michael, she has Jocelyn. I have you. And you, my dear, are famously fickle." Ava smirked. "I prefer strategically pragmatic. But you're right. A direct assault is suicide. This requires finesse. It requires finding a pressure point she doesn't know she has." Ava's phone buzzed on the bar. She glanced at the screen, a slow, calculating smile spreading across her lips. Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Or, in this case, her favorite daughter is causing a scene in the pool area. Jocelyn Jax was indeed causing a scene, though she would have vehemently denied it. She stood by the glittering indoor pool, her hands clenched into fists at her sides, facing a visibly frustrated Dex Heller. "I'm not a child you need to protect, Dex." Jocelyn's voice echoed off the tiled walls. "This isn't about protecting you, Joss, it's about common sense." Dex shot back, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. "Pikeman has people everywhere. They've already made one attempt on your mom's life. Do you think they'd hesitate to come after you to get to her? To get to Sonny? Walking home alone from the campus library after dark isn't brave, it's reckless. So what, I'm just supposed to live in a bubble?" Jocelyn fired back, her eyes flashing with a mix of fear and defiance. "I have a life. I have classes, I have friends. I can't have you or some other PCPD lackey shadowing my every move. It's not a lackey, it's me." Dex's voice softened, frustration giving way to a raw concern that made Jocelyn's heart ache. "Joss, look at me. Please." She reluctantly met his gaze. "I lost you once. I let you go because I thought it was the right thing to do, because my life was too dangerous for you. Now, my life is even more dangerous, and you're somehow even deeper in the middle of it. I can't lose you again. Not to these people. The fight seemed to drain out of Jocelyn. She saw the genuine terror in his eyes, the same terror that kept her awake at night. You're not going to lose me, she said, her voice barely a whisper. But you can't smother me, Dex. We have to be a team. You have to trust me to be smart. I do trust you, he insisted, stepping closer, his hand reaching out to gently cup her elbow. It's the rest of the world I don't trust. The moment hung between them, fragile and charged. The anger had melted away, leaving behind the complicated, undeniable tangle of their history and their feelings. It was a truce, tentative and fragile, built on a foundation of shared danger and a love that had never truly died. That shared danger was becoming a palpable entity across town at the Port Charles Police Department. Commissioner Jordan Ashford stood before a sprawling evidence board, her expression granite. Pinned to it were photos of known pikemen associates, shipping manifests, and a map of the city marked with red pins. Detective Harrison Chase stood beside her, his own face set in grim lines. The tip was solid, Commissioner, Chase said, pointing to a grainy photo of a warehouse by the docks. We found the weapons cache. High-grade assault rifles, enough C4 to level a city block. It's pikemen's style. They're arming for a major offensive. And the witness? The dock worker who called it in. Jordan asked, her voice clipped. In protective custody. Scared out of his mind, Chase reported. He ID'd one of the men from the photos. A known enforcer named Silas Cade. He's new to the organization, but he's rising fast. Vicious. Jordan's jaw tightened. Cade. I've read his file. He's not just vicious, he's smart. Which means this wasn't a careless mistake. A cache that big doesn't just get found because of a lucky tip. You think it was a message? Chase inferred. I think it was a declaration of war, Jordan corrected, turning to face him. They're letting us know they're here, they're armed, and they're not afraid of us. They're taunting us. And they're not just coming for Sunny Corinthos. They're coming for the whole city. I want every available officer on high alert. I want patrols doubled on the docks, around the Metro Court, and anywhere the Corinthos or Quartermain families have interests. The families aren't going to like that, Chase warned. They have their own ways of handling things. Their ways are what got us here. Jordan snapped, her composure finally fracturing. This tit for tat, this endless cycle of violence and revenge between Sunny and whoever the new player of the week is, it's going to get innocent people killed. My job is to prevent that. I don't care if they like it or not. She took a deep breath, pinching the bridge of her nose. Just make it happen, Chase. And keep me updated on any movement from Sunny's organization. I want to know before they even sneeze. Back at the Quartermain mansion, the air was still thick with unresolved anguish. Carly and Drew had been momentarily sidetracked by a phone call from Cody Bell about a disturbance at the stables, leaving Michael and Willow alone once more in the study. The interruption had done nothing to defuse the bomb between them, it had only given the fuse more time to burn. You still haven't answered my question, Willow, Michael said, his voice hollow. The initial rage had subsided, replaced by a devastating emptiness. Who is the father? Willow, exhausted and stripped bare, finally found a shred of strength. She wiped her tears, drawing herself up to her full height. It doesn't matter who he is, Michael. What matters is that I am his mother. You are the father who has loved him and raised him. That has to count for something. It counts for everything, Michael whispered, his eyes glistening. And it also counts for nothing, because it was all based on a false premise. How can I trust anything you say to me ever again? How can I look at him, and not feel this gaping hole where the truth should be? He turned away from her, his shoulders slumping in defeat. I think you should leave, Willow. Leave, she repeated, a fresh wave of panic seizing her. Michael, this is our home. Right now, it doesn't feel like a home. It feels like a crime scene, he said, his back still to her. I need space. I need to think. Please. Just go to your mother's, or to the gatehouse. Just, not here. The finality in his voice broke her. She had lost him. She nodded, though he couldn't see it, and turned, walking out of the study on unsteady legs. The sound of the heavy door closing behind her echoed like a gunshot in the silent house. Michael stood alone for a long time, the DNA results crumpled in his fist. He walked to the fireplace and stared into the cold, empty grate. He thought of his own fractured childhood, of the lies and the manipulations that had defined his early life. He had sworn he would build something different, something pure and honest for his own children. And now, he was standing in the wreckage of that dream, the lies echoing down another generation. The cold of the November day had finally reached his heart, and he wasn't sure if it would ever thaw. As dusk began to settle over Port Charles, the city's inhabitants continued their intricate dances of deception and survival. At the Metro Court, Nina Reeves, fortified by Ava's bourbon and bleak advice, made a decision. She couldn't wait for Carly to strike. She had to act. She pulled out her phone and typed a text to Sonny, "We need to talk. It's urgent. Can I come to the penthouse?" She pressed send before she could lose her nerve, her fate now hurtling towards an inevitable, painful confrontation. At the same time, Sonny Corinthos stood on the terrace of his penthouse, the lights of the city twinkling below. He had just gotten off the phone with his consigliere, who had confirmed the PCPD's discovery of the Pikeman weapons cache. Sonny's face was a calm mask, but his dark eyes burned with a cold fire. They had brought their war to his city, to his doorstep. They had threatened his family. This was no longer business, it was personal. He would not wait for them to make the next move. He would root them out, every last one of them, and he would make them regret the day they ever heard the name Pikeman. And at General Hospital, the epicenter of so much of the city's joy and sorrow, a different kind of drama was unfolding. Elizabeth Baldwin, having just ended her shift, was heading towards the locker room when she was intercepted by Hamilton Finn. "Liz, do you have a minute?" Finn asked, his expression uncharacteristically serious. "Of course, Finn. Is everything okay?" Elizabeth asked, concern etching her features. "It's about this new trial drug for autoimmune conditions," he began, lowering his voice. "The one from the Aurora Media grant. The initial data is concerning. There are side effects the initial studies didn't catch. I've tried to voice my concerns, but the board is pushing for a fast rollout. The financial incentives are too great." Elizabeth's blood ran cold. "What kind of side effects?" "Neurological," Finn said grimly. "Tremors, memory loss, in some early animal trials, signs of early onset dementia. Liz, if this gets to human trials without more oversight, people could get very sick." Elizabeth thought of all the patients who pinned their hopes on such breakthroughs, of the trust they placed in the hospital. She thought of the powerful forces, the money and the influence, that would be arrayed against anyone who tried to stop it. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know," Finn admitted. "But I can't just stand by. I was thinking, maybe you could talk to Drew. He respects you. He might listen if you express concern." It was a minefield. Drew was entangled with her best friend, Carly, and was the public face of the grant. To question it was to question him. But Elizabeth looked at Finn's worried face and knew he was right. "I'll talk to him," she said, her resolve firming. "I'll find a way." The threads of fate continued to weave their tangled web. At Kelly's, Jocelyn and Dex shared a quiet booth, their hands intertwined on the tabletop, finding a fragile piece in the eye of the storm. At the police station, Jordan and Chase coordinated their response, the thin blue line preparing to hold back a tide of violence. And in a quiet corner of the hospital chapel, Willow Corinthos knelt, not to pray, but simply because she had nowhere else to fall, her silent sobs a counterpoint to the steady, rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor from a nearby room. The spoils of this war would not be victory, but survival. And as Thursday, November 27, 2025, drew to a close in Port Charles, it was clear that for some, even survival was hanging by a thread. The chill in the air had settled deep, promising a winter that would test them all, a season of reckoning where secrets would not stay buried, and loyalties would be paid for in blood and tears. The morning in Port Charles began quietly enough, though everyone knew peace never lasted long in this town. At General Hospital, Elizabeth stood behind the nurse's station flipping through charts when Finn approached her with that tense look she had learned to recognize too well. "You haven't said a word since the meeting ended," he said, lowering his voice when a couple of orderlies passed by. Elizabeth shifted uncomfortably. "Because saying something won't make any of this easier," she replied, tapping a pen nervously. Finn leaned closer. "We need to make a decision, Liz. The board wants an answer today." Elizabeth sighed, her shoulders heavy. "I know. But agreeing to reinstate you under supervision, it's going to stir everything up again." Finn swallowed hard. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Elizabeth looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there, but the weight of everything she had risked for him hung heavy between them. "Then I hope we're ready," she whispered before walking away, leaving Finn standing there with more hope than certainty. Down the hall, Laura stepped out of the elevator and spotted Dante leaning against the wall reviewing his notes. "I hope you're ready for the day," she said, offering him a tired but warm smile. Dante rubbed the back of his neck. "I've been ready for this conversation with Sonny since last night, but he's avoiding me." Laura frowned. "He thinks if he keeps moving, no one can corner him with reality." Dante raised an eyebrow. "That sound like something you want me to do, chase him down and drag him into reality?" Laura placed a hand on his arm. "I want you to remind him he doesn't have to fight this war alone. And whatever he's planning with this so-called truce with Selena Wu, it has consequences." Dante sighed deeply. "Yeah. And none of them are good." Laura nodded slowly. "Just be careful. He trusts you more than he admits." Meanwhile, Sonny sat at the corner table of the Metro Court restaurant with Brick, his expression tight as he glanced over the security reports Brick slid across the table. Brick kept his voice low. "We found 2 of Wu's men near the docks last night. They said they were running shipments, but I'm not buying it." Sonny didn't look up as he replied, "Selena wants me to think she's giving me space. That alone means she's doing the opposite." Brick folded his arms. "So what now, boss?" Sonny set the papers aside. "Now we wait until she makes her real move. And when she does, I make mine." Brick nodded, though tension thickened the air. Just then, Nina approached cautiously. "Is this a bad time?" she asked. Sonny hesitated, then gestured for her to sit. Nina slid into the chair, her eyes scanning his face. "You didn't come home last night." Sonny exhaled hard. "I had things to handle." Nina frowned. "Handle or avoid?" Sonny's jaw tensed. "This isn't about us." Nina shook her head. "Everything you do affects us, Sonny." Brick shifted uncomfortably. "I'm gonna give you 2 space." As Brick disappeared, Nina leaned closer. "If you're shutting me out again," Sonny cut her off quietly. "I'm protecting you." Nina looked away. "Then maybe you should start trusting me enough to let me decide what I need protection from." At the Quartermain mansion, the house was buzzing with Thanksgiving preparations. Olivia hurried through the living room with a tray of ingredients when she noticed Ned staring off at the family photos on the mantel. "You okay?" she asked softly. Ned blinked, snapping out of his daze. "Yeah, just thinking how much has changed since last year." Olivia set the tray down. "Brooklyn being pregnant again has everyone stirred up?" Ned let out a shaky breath. "More like wondering how many surprises this family can handle." Olivia smiled tenderly. "We've handled worse." But when Ned turned toward her, Olivia saw something dark flicker behind his eyes. "Liv, something's off. I can feel it." She touched his cheek. "You don't have to go through whatever this is alone." Ned nodded but didn't speak, silently wrestling with a feeling he couldn't name. Across town, Brooklyn checked her reflection in the hospital bathroom mirror, smoothing her hair and taking a deep breath. Chase knocked lightly. You ready for this appointment? He asked. Brooklyn stepped out, linking her fingers with his. I'm ready. I just want to make sure the baby's okay. Chase kissed the top of her head. Whatever happens, we face it together. As they walked toward the OBGYN department, they ran into Tracy, who gave them a pointed look. Well. If it isn't the future power couple of the Quartermain dynasty. Brooklyn groaned quietly. Grandmother, please don't start. Tracy smirked. I'm only saying, this baby could restore some respectability to the family. Chase frowned. We're not here to discuss family politics. Tracy raised a brow. Everything in this family is politics. Brooklyn squeezed Chase's arm. Not today, grandmother. Tracy sighed dramatically. Fine. Go. Be sentimental. As she walked away, Chase whispered, Your grandmother is intense. Brooklyn laughed softly. That's putting it mildly. At Kelly's, Joss sat across from Trina as they picked at their breakfast plates. The tension between them was palpable. I thought we were past this, Joss finally said. Trina crossed her arms. You keep saying that, but every time Spencer comes up, you tense up like you're waiting for me to break. Joss leaned forward. I'm not waiting for you to break. I'm worried. Trina's eyes narrowed. Worried that I might forgive him? Joss hesitated. Worried that you're still letting him affect your whole life. Trina looked away. It's not like I asked him to show up last night. Joss's fork froze. He showed up? Trina bit her lip. Yeah. He wanted to talk. Said he's back for good. Joss exhaled sharply. Of course he did. Trina, she reached across the table, taking her friend's hand. Just don't let him pull you back into the mess. Trina nodded slowly. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I do know I can't run from him forever. At the same moment, Spencer stood outside the gallery, his hands in his pockets as he stared up at the familiar building. He whispered to himself, I'm not leaving this time. But before he could go inside, Ava approached from behind. If you think you're walking in there without talking to me, you're mistaken, she said sharply. Spencer bristled. I didn't come to see you. Ava stepped in front of him. Too bad. Because you need to hear this. Spencer exhaled impatiently. What now? Ava folded her arms. Trina rebuilt her life after you left. She found peace. If you're here to tear it apart again, Spencer cut her off. I'm here because I still love her. Ava's expression softened only slightly. Love isn't enough. Not after the damage you caused. Spencer stared back defiantly. Maybe not. But I'm not giving up. Meanwhile, at GH, Anna searched through the files on the desk in her temporary office when Jordan walked in. I heard you were digging into the docs situation again, Jordan said, closing the door behind her. Anna didn't look up. Because something isn't adding up. Jordan stepped closer. Selena's holding back. Anna nodded. And Sunny's making moves we don't know about. That combination is dangerous. Jordan leaned in. I have an informant saying there's a shipment coming in tonight. Not Wu's. Not Sunny's. Somebody new. Anna raised an eyebrow. Then we need to find out who. Jordan's voice dropped low. Before the whole city ignites. Meanwhile, Curtis sat at the Savoy reviewing invoices when Portia stormed in. We need to talk, she said. Curtis put down the papers slowly. About what? Portia crossed her arms. About you pretending everything's fine when it's not. Curtis frowned. I'm rebuilding my life, Portia. One step at a time. Portia's voice softened. I know. But shutting me out won't help. Curtis sighed. I'm not shutting you out. I'm trying to figure out who I am, now. Portia moved closer. Then let me figure it out with you. Curtis looked at her, the woman he loved but couldn't fully reach. I want that. But I don't know how yet. Portia's eyes filled slightly. Then we'll learn together. Back at the Metro Court, Sam arrived and spotted Christina pacing near the bar. You okay? Sam asked. Christina shook her head. Molly called. She wants to talk about the baby again. Sam bit her lip. And? Christina exhaled. I'm scared she's going to say she changed her mind. Or worse, that she regrets everything. Sam touched her arm gently. Whatever she wants to talk about, you'll get through it. Christina nodded, though her anxiety simmered beneath the surface. I just want this baby to be loved. I don't want to lose them before they're even here. Meanwhile, Molly sat in Alexis's office at the Invader, wringing her hands as Alexis studied her. Sweetheart, take a breath, Alexis urged. Molly blinked rapidly. What if I'm making a huge mistake? What if Christina thinks I don't trust her? What if Alexis took her daughter's hand? You're thinking of every worst-case scenario. What do you want? Molly whispered, I want my sister to know that I care, but I also need to be honest about what I'm afraid of. Alexis smiled gently. Then be honest. That's all any of us can do. Outside the hospital, Michael leaned against his car as Willow approached after finishing her shift. You look exhausted, he said softly. Willow gave a tired smile. It's been a long day. Michael wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I want us to take a day for ourselves tomorrow. Just the three of us. Willow melted into him. That sounds perfect. But as she rested her head on his chest, she added quietly, I just hope your family doesn't pull you into another crisis before then. Michael chuckled lightly. It's Port Charles. Crises are in the air. Willow lifted her head and sighed playfully. Unfortunately, they are. Back inside, Finn finally approached the board's office, hesitating before knocking. When the door opened, Monica stood there with a patient but firm expression. Are you ready? She asked. Finn nodded slowly. I am. Monica stepped aside, letting him in. Then let's begin. Elizabeth stood in the corner of the room, her face calm but her heart pounding. As Finn took his seat, Monica began outlining the conditions for his reinstatement. Finn listened intently, nodding at each point. But when the subject turned to supervision, he glanced at Elizabeth. She gave him a quiet nod of reassurance. Monica noticed the exchange and said gently, This hospital believes in second chances, Dr. Finn. Make sure you believe in them too. Finn whispered, I do. Over at the Metro Court pool deck, Sasha sat wrapped in a robe, staring out at the city skyline. Cody joined her, carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Thought you could use something warm, he said. Sasha smiled softly. Thank you. Cody sat beside her. You've been quiet this morning. Sasha exhaled, her breath fogging in the cool air. It's the holidays. They always make me think of Liam, Brando, everything I lost. Cody reached for her hand. You didn't lose everything. You're still here. And you're stronger than anyone gives you credit for. Sasha looked at him with gratitude. You've been my light through all of this. Cody smiled. Then I'll keep being one. As the day moved toward late afternoon, tensions across Port Charles simmered. Dante finally found Sunny alone near the Metro Court terrace. We need to talk, Dante said firmly. Sunny didn't turn around. If this is about Selena, I've got it handled. Dante stepped closer. That's exactly the problem. You think you're handling something that's bigger than both of you. Sunny's jaw clenched. I don't need you to tell me how to run my business.